Part of proving psychiatry a fraud is disproving the philosophies that uphold it, or that maintain it, or that, you know, the people from these philosophies who are who most emphatically declare that psychiatry is the truth and we must use it on, you know, religious people, political dissidents, and people who are undesirable and so on. Okay, so let's look at atheism, shall we? You have to make the distinction between atheism and agnostics, you know, agnosticism. Okay, agnostics are much more reasonable and logical than atheists. They say, well, this is a complicated issue and I don't know what to think about it. You know, from a humanist perspective, perhaps, from a secular perspective, the most scientific point of view would be that of an agnostic. Now, I myself do not take a secular perspective, and I disagree with them. I say that not only does the evidence point to a creator, but I sense it. Therefore, when you mix those two things with a third, that being doctrine from the most insightful people, the wisest people, the greatest philosophers, the prophets, you know, there is so much evidence that there is a creator that I believe. And then there is divine reasons to believe. Part of the doctrine is you're expected to believe by your creator. And so, yes, I believe. And that is a very logical conclusion to come to. Now, when you look at spontaneous generation or anomalous generation, such as an anomalous, right? Well, what was it? You know, when you look at the idea of a creator versus, you know, we look at a theist point of view versus an atheist point of view. Theism is much more logical for the same reason that spontaneous generation was not logical. Now, bear with me now. This does not definitively prove atheism wrong scientifically, but it does slap the shit out of them. Their arguments almost always consist of, well, these religious people are illogical. They believe in Stone Age scriptures and blah, blah, blah. When you actually look at the science indicates that there must be a creator. Remember, some guy calculated the odds of, you know, us living in these conditions by chance, you know, the world being this way by chance. And when they calculated them, it was ridiculous. You know, I'm going to put it in the comments. It was some ridiculous number that it would be by chance. Okay, that these exact conditions that allow for life. And it's the same reason that if I had lived back in the day when there was the arguments over whether spontaneous generation was happening or there was something else going on, I would have said, hey, you know what? For the same reason I believe that there's a creator, it's the same reason I don't believe that this is spontaneous generation. There's something else going on here. Okay? So let me read you the first paragraph from Wikipedia. You know, I encourage you all to read about this, because this has to do with Aristotle. This has to do with Louis Pasteur. A lot of the people that these occultists and these Enlightenment guys look up to, you know, were right about a few things, and on record they were wrong about others. So these people hold on to these pseudo-scientific ideas and these scientific theories, and they deify, they idolize these, you know, scientists from the 17th, 16th, 15th, whatever century, right? But in the end, when you truly look at it from their own perspective, they're idolizing and they're following blindly somebody who has been disproven by the same science they claim shows that religious people are insane or out of touch or delusional. Now, let me just read this. Spontaneous generation or anomalous generation is an obsolete body of thought. Keyword, obsolete. On the ordinary formation of living organisms without descent from similar organisms. Without descent from similar organisms. You know, kind of like the Bible says, God created man in his image. Descent from similar organisms. Typically, the idea was that certain forms such as fleas could arise from inanimate matter, such as dust, or that maggots could arise from dead flesh. A variant idea was that of equivocal generation, in which species such as tapeworms arose from unrelated living organisms, now understood to be their hosts. Doctrines supporting such processes of generation held that these processes are commonplace and regular. Such ideas are in contradiction to that of univocal generation, effectively exclusive reproduction from genetically related parents, generally of the same species. The doctrine of spontaneous generation was coherently synthesized by Aristotle, who compiled and expanded the work of prior natural philosophers and the various ancient explanations of the appearance of organisms. It held sway for 2 millennia. Today it is generally accepted to have been decisively dispelled through the 19th century by the experiments of Louis Pasteur. Okay, so Aristotle, one of these guys, these secret society guys who couldn't possibly be wrong about anything, and his science must have proven all religious guys wackos, cuckoo. He was wrong. He was wrong. He emphatically declared that this is true, and he coherently declared it, and he was the quote-unquote expert, and a lot of idiots who went against religion followed him. You'll never hear that side of the story from the fucking secret societies. You'll never hear that side of the story from the atheists. There are countless examples of so-called scientists thinking they know better than religious people and being made a fucking complete fool of. And it goes on to this day. In fact, it's happening right now in this video as you listen and as I make it, and so on. Okay, so what does this show us? It shows us the idea of a creation having come from a creator to some degree. In a way, this is a scientific principle. It's like the theory of fucking relativity, It's a scientific principle that we see all around us, that we can observe and study. Yes, this life came to be. It didn't spontaneously come to be. Therefore, it is safe to say that the first form of matter, the first atom, protons, neutrons, electrons, as you start breaking them down more and more, the first speck, the first thing, couldn't have spontaneously generated. For the same reason that maggots did not spontaneously generate. Now this, I caution you, does not definitively prove atheists wrong, as I have said, because I'm honest, they're intellectually dishonest. If they were truly scientific, they would be agnostics. They're not. Atheism is faith in something. I wouldn't say it's a religion. It can be described as that, but it's not entirely, it's not accurate, but it's close enough. It is a faith. Okay? They have faith that there isn't a God. Faith in their quote-unquote scholars such as Aristotle and these other idiots who have been disproven about a great many things. Faith in men. And I will end this by saying it takes more faith in your theory or your idea of how things came to be to believe that the first thing magically popped into being without being powerful enough to defy time, to defy all the forces of nature, science, and logic, and create itself. It had to be all-powerful to do that. Thank you. So let me explain conspiracy to you. Part of understanding why psychiatry is a fraud is understanding conspiracy and the nature of conspiracy. Time and time again, I hear even smart people, for whatever reason, whether they're playing stupid or they just don't understand, they say, well, how could all these people be working together? These people don't all have the same philosophies. They don't all have the same cultures. I bring up how Masonry is specifically designed to bring in people, from different religions to a common cause. I bring up the World Bank, the Council on Foreign Relations, the International Monetary Fund, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, and on and on, right? I talk about the Business Roundtable, the Trilateral Commission, different globalist entities. Okay, but let's look at just basically how it is. I'm going to answer that right now in this video. I'm going to make it very short. This part is probably going to be the shortest part in the whole series because I want you to pay close attention and to not miss a beat, not miss a word, a letter. Now, what is going on basically is a bunch of people who have certain ideas. It's the same thing, have a small town with a bunch of white people who don't like black people back in the 50s or whatever, okay? They say, well, I don't necessarily have the time to spend all day chasing blackies, chasing darkies, that's not my priority. I'm the sheriff, or I'm the judge, So they sit down, they analyze things. I say, this is what you do, and this is what you can do. You play your part, he plays his part. You play your part. Know when to play stupid, know when to be assertive, know when to pretend that you're not interested. Play your part. And it's the same thing when you look at the bigger picture. You own Monsanto, okay? You own Abbott. You own Pfizer. You're the director of the CIA. You're, a big shot in the FDA or whatever, okay? You, Eli Lilly, you're in MI6 and so on and so forth. Okay, you're a CEO of this company, etc. Okay, without disrupting your business, without affecting our ability to compete with each other, we're gonna make a policy. We're gonna make policies that we all do, so they're not gonna just be us. Someone can't say, hey, he's doing it that way, and so I'm gonna go through his competitor. We're all gonna do it together. So therefore, it's more effective, and you can't say, well, I'm taking all the risk while you guys just kick back. You play your part, you play your part. There's nothing insane about this. It's like they still pretty much don't like each other. They still compete with each other. They don't like each other, but they're playing their part. It's like the NFL, We're going to have certain rules that we all follow that's conducive, that's helpful for what we're trying to do. Okay? You're going to be the fucking, the Giants. You're going to be the Lions. Whatever. Okay? And we're going to have this game we play. We're going to rack in the money. We're going to have bad bitches dancing. We're going to fill huge stadiums full of people who will come there drunk and fight with each other sometimes, but it's okay. We're competing for, fans. We're competing for the Super Bowl, for the playoffs, in every single game. We might have bad feelings towards each other. Fuck this guy's team. My quarterback's better than his. Whatever. It's the same idea. All these major corporations. What do you think the Republican Party is? A bunch of people who don't like each other very much, who have come together for a common cause. That is what conspiracy is. That is what the great conspiracy is, especially. A bunch of people who don't necessarily like each other, who have come together for a common cause. And other than that cause, they're probably competing. Some of them might even kill each other, the other ones sometimes. Their countries may even go to war sometimes, but they have these common policies because of their affiliation and their loyalty to certain philosophies or secret societies. There is nothing insane about that. There is nothing unbelievable about that. It is exactly what you would expect. We see it all the time. The Security Council of the UN. We see it all the time. What do you think NATO is? You think all the countries in NATO hold hands and sing Kumbaya? They don't compete for trade, for goods and services at all. They haven't gone to war with each other in the past. That's what conspiracy is, my friends. Watch this video again if you still have any doubts. Thank you. So much evidence that there is a creator that I believe. And then there is divine reasons to believe. Part of the doctrine is you're expected to believe by your creator. And so, yes, I believe. And that is a very logical conclusion to come to. Now, Part of proving psychiatry a fraud is disproving the philosophies that uphold it, or that maintain it, or that, you know, the people from these philosophies who are who most emphatically declare that psychiatry is the truth and we must use it on, you know, religious people, political dissidents, and people who are undesirable and so on. Okay, so let's look at atheism, shall we? You have to make the distinction between atheism and agnostics, you know, agnosticism. Okay, agnostics are much more reasonable and logical than atheists. They say, well, this is a complicated issue and I don't know what to think about it. You know, from a humanist perspective, perhaps, from a secular perspective, the most scientific point of view would be that of an agnostic. Now, I myself do not take a secular perspective, and I disagree with them. I say that not only does the evidence point to a creator, but I sense it. Therefore, when you mix those two things with a third, that being doctrine from the most insightful people, the wisest people, the greatest philosophers, the prophets, you know, there's